Marriage counselors might tell us that one of the greatest issues facing especially newly married couples or short-term married couples when they're struggling is an issue called unrealized expectations. That is, that each party comes into the marriage with a certain idealistic view as to how things are going to be. And somehow, sometimes I guess even before the honeymoon is over, the expectations are not met. And there's no one's fault except for the other party for the reason you're not meeting my expectations. That's one thing in marriage. It never happens, however, when we look at our Creator, our mighty one in the heavens. Is it possible that we have unrealized expectations when it comes to, but you said, your word said, and that didn't happen? And that's kind of what's going on in Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 13 and 14, as we approach this at the time of this recording, this Torah portion. The land, they thought evidently that they were just going to waltz in, and because they showed up on the border, everybody inside the land was going to say, okay, guys, the legitimate owners are here. Let's just pack our bags. We got to go now because, well, the owners are here. We got to go. Did you not think you was going to have to fight? And did you not think that maybe there would be some big guys among the adversaries?
All right. Well, Barry has finished his sermon now. We'll take an offering, and that'll be the end. Could we all rise for the doxology?
I never get to preach.
Well, Barry, I got to take you back to your first thought there of anticipation or expectations in marriage. The reason I'm laughing so much is that, as you know, Kathy and I have been married for 40,
a long time,
42 years. She's lasted longer than the Hebrews in the wilderness. But here, I'll tell you what our expectations were. Is that we went to buy furniture, and knowing that it would not work out, we bought a sectional, 2-piece sectional, and as we purchased it, it was agreed upon by the two of us while we're standing in line to purchase it, that she would get the section with 2 arms and I would get the one with only one.
Oh, poor Mike. You yielded too quickly right at the beginning, brother.
So we walked in with not a lot of expectations into this thing, and somehow have endured through. As Kathy, I guess, I'd have to say she's endured so far. But yeah, Barry, they went in with all kinds of expectations of everything. And it wasn't the way that they had it planned out. I'm sure that going from the area they were at, Kadesh Barnea, and they were walking all the way up. I've actually done that in a 4-wheel drive Toyota Land Cruiser. And that was quite a walk in that day. It was not an easy walk. And they must have had a lot of discussion between them of what it was going to be like when they got there. And as you said, the people are just going to bow to them and say, "Oh, you're back. Here you're at Hebron, and let us take you over to the cave of Machpelah. And we still have a copy of the deed here of your ancestor Abraham, and where he paid this exorbitant amount for it." And he should have never been charged that much. So we're just going to move out and let you guys have this, and everything's going to be fine. And it didn't work out that way. So 2 spies kept their eyes on the promise without expectation. 10 kind of stayed to their expectations and blew it.
The issue at hand, Mike, is that those whose expectations were challenged influenced the congregation.
Yeah.
And an entire generation was lost because of the arrogance of 10 men who decided we know better than our Creator does. We know better than Moshe does. Because, well, we've seen it. We've seen it with our own eyes. When it comes to belief, when it comes to trusting Yah for whatever the issue might be, sometimes you have to go beyond what your eyes see. I'm not telling you to deny reality, but sometimes you have to see things that are not, and as he does, speak of them as though they are. So when there is a illness that is long-term and one says, well, I'm just going to have to live with this for the rest of my life, Yeshua would approach such a person and ask them, do you want to be healed?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see yourself differently than you are right now? It takes a certain ability to look beyond what is and start looking at what can be. Now, one might say, but isn't that an unrealistic expectation? What if it doesn't become realized? The expectations that we have cause us to look into the face of the one who has the ability to meet them and trust him whether he meets them or not. That's a tall order, and that's not easily done, but that's where we're supposed to be walking.
When we talk about expectations, whose expectations are we actually looking for in the first place? I've time, but I had a person that came to me on one of my Connect Israel tours. This was many, many years ago, and said, "I just like you to know that I'm a little upset here regarding this tour." I said, "Okay, let's work it out. At least they didn't do what the spies did." Which I just was talking with Hanok and actually confirmed this, that the word there that's used for an evil report or a negative report is the words, it's best translated, a whispering murmur.
Mm-hmm.
Usually people that have complaints don't come to you. They normally start whispering to each other, and that causes the main problem. But this person came to me and said, I've got an issue. And I said, okay, what is it? And they said, this tour is not what I expected. Yeah, I'm not quite this smart. And so I'm like, okay, I got to have a word here. And I looked at them and I said, well, maybe it's because you came with the wrong expectations. And the Father has some different expectations for you. And until you release your expectations, you cannot walk in His.
Mm.
And the person just, they just stood there with their mouth open and said,
I can imagine
that. And I'm kind of standing there with my mouth open going, I'm not smart enough to come up with something like that. But it's something that I've used on tours. I use that in life. You go to, we're going to be together at Revive very soon. A couple weeks. You and I were together doing a conference in Bassett a couple weeks ago. Barry, let me go backwards here. Bassett, Virginia. Did anything that happened there, was that anything that you expected?
That was a conference that went beyond my expectations.
Yeah, it was like, okay, this is what I've got planned, and and it just went, it went a totally different direction for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm praying that Revive does the same thing. I don't, my expectations tend to be too small. When I go into something expecting, and then I'm firm with what that I'm going to reach these expectations, I find that I was thinking way too small. and that his expectations are far greater. And so, is this not what we've been talking about, or what I've been talking about on Life on Purpose, of being led by the Spirit? We should be walking into circumstances saying, okay, what do you want? What is your expectation here? And it really doesn't matter what mine is.
For example, again, you mentioned Revive. And if you're going to be at Revive, folks, if we walk by or whatever, if you see us, please throw up your hands and say, hey, we'd love to meet you in person and voice our appreciation in person for watching. But in regards to Revive, Mike, at one point, it's like, I'm probably not going to go again this year. The money to go and all the expenses and traveling and so on. And the time away, I thought, but I just kept feeling like you need to be there this year. Mm-hmm. You need to go. So bite the bullet, so to speak, and make preparations and get together and go. So I'm at a point now. Okay, Father, you're the one urging me to go. This is not my first inclination and choice. So I'm going. I'm not going under protest, but I need to find out in my spirit. Okay, yeah, you set the expectation level. What is it that I need to be prepared to do? Mm-hmm. What is it that I need to be prepared to hear? What is it I need to be prepared to give or to receive? There's a reason that we're going. And just tune me in to whatever level that I need. But at the same time, you always know that there's going to be that one or several factors that's going to show up. And it's like, I had no expectation of this. I didn't know that this was going to be the case. If you go to Revive, you may or may not like the teaching. You may or may not like the music. You may or may not like the crowd. But if Yah sends you there, He's sending you for a purpose.
That's unless you're with us at the young adult services. You're going to like the music. You're going to like the teaching. You're going to like the crowd, because I'm expecting that I'm expecting the Spirit, the Ruach, to show up in a absolutely phenomenal way.
One caveat here, though, folks. Mike will be checking your driver's license at the door. If you're too old to get in, you'll be turned away.
Yeah, but
this is not a senior adult club.
Yeah, it is. We do allow some fake IDs, but they better be good.
Yeah.
Okay, they better be good. And I actually have adults that are asking me if they can sneak in, and we'll see what happens with that. I'm reminded of the verse, He is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think. There's no expectation that I can come up with that is as great as what He can come up with. For the spies, going back to the land, they walked in and they got themselves in their own way, except for two of them, Ephraim and Judah, okay, Joshua and Caleb. They never lost hope of the destination, of the promise. That's the word I was trying to come up with. They never lost hope of the promise. Let's face it, the whispering murmur that the 10 came back with, that probably didn't happen just when they came back into the camp. Mm-hmm. That was probably already happening. While they have these grapes, and you've been to Israel, you've seen the picture, the logo for the Ministry of Tourism is two spies with a pole between them and these huge grapes. And so with that depiction live in front of them, seeing a supernatural produce that was in that day, to begin to whisper and complain against that. This thing of complaining, of whispering, of murmuring against the work of the Almighty, you go through Scripture and you find that I taught about this on Living Torah. He's not as concerned about someone attacking his image, golden calf, as he is his word.
Mm-hmm.
So he let them off with a fairly mild judgment regarding the golden calf. There was 3,000 died.
Yeah.
Well, with the with the siding with the 10 spies, they all died except for 2. So I think he's pretty serious about those that will judge his word. Because let's face it, Barry, the only thing, you and I, the only thing that we have in our lives is our word. In the end,
Mm-hmm.
Possessions come and go, relationships come and go. What is it? You and I have known each other for 25 years. We've endured a lot of things. Why? Because I've found that Barry Phillips is a man of his word. And I pray you found that in me. That is what that knowing someone is a man or woman of their word will help you through the difficulties. That doesn't mean we're perfect, but it means you can count on us.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned his word more so than his image. I think another aspect of that is his reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Yah repeatedly said, I am Yahweh, your Elohim, who has brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. That encompasses the understanding that I'm the one who initiated and controlled the plagues that brought you liberty. I'm the one that defeated Pharaoh. I'm the one that destroyed his armies. I'm the one that split the sea. I'm the one who brought you out of that dungeon, and I broke your chains. And I am the one who's transforming you from a nation of slaves into a nation that is to be the most peculiar, set apart, royal people on the face of the earth. You are going to be the cream of the nations. And you think I can't handle a giant? It's not that they had to deny that the giants existed, but Caleb said, do not rebel against Yahweh your Elohim, or Yahweh, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. And this is what he said, their defense has turned away from them, and Yahweh is with us. Do not fear them.
Mm-hmm.
They were afraid of the people more so than they had a holy fear of their Elohim. Yah's reputation was what was being challenged there. He might have beat Pharaoh, but we've never seen him deal with giants before. There are giants over there. So that had to be their attitude.
Yeah.
We look at life circumstances now, Mike, and you can, on the world stage of events, your local events, your personal issues, they appear enormous, overwhelming, much bigger, much stronger than we are. So if Yah can deliver Israel out of Mitzrayim and defeat Pharaoh, the world's superpower at that time, why are we afraid of whatever is going on now? Yah's not taken aback by any event in our life or in our world. He's not shocked or surprised. He's already calculated this, and it's already been determined. It will fail. Whatever it is, though it may succeed for a season, ultimately it will fail.
Well, it's kind of similar to this, that I have great faith that he can overcome your giants. It's my Giants I have a problem with.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't mean to make you spit out your coffee there.
Yeah.
I wasn't watching the screen. I was looking at my camera. I kind of saw that out of the side, little peripheral vision there.
Let me clean up my camera here.
So it's easy to look back and say, well, I mean, these people lacked any faith. They didn't have the faith to, it's just a bunch of giants in front of them. Who cares? I mean, but I have great faith regarding other people's giants. I mean, I can believe for your finances, for whatever it needs. Barry, hey, revive. It's just money, man. God's going to provide. Okay, but yeah. But what about my decision to go? All right, what am I going to do with that? That's my giant. So somehow my giant, it's personal, and that's where the lack of faith comes in. Is that when we are individually put in front of a giant.
Mm-hmm.
So true faith is believing that not only can he defeat your giant, but he can also defeat mine.
Let's take this, Mike, into a couple particular areas.
Okay.
2 areas, and I'll let you choose which one you want to address first. The expectations that one might have in their, if they have one, a local congregation or their home group.
Okay.
Sometimes we have expectations that are not realized. If they're not realized in your congregational or group setting, do you pack up and walk away and say, well, my expectations were not met? Or do you stay and help someone else's expectations be met and take on the role of a servant?
Okay.
Going to the land of Israel, as you alluded to earlier, someone on tour, well, I thought we would be going to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and
Church of the Unholy Sepulchre,
Church of the Nativity, and I wanted to go see the Tomb of David and so on. And and I'm sure, if I'm not mistaken, you kind of release an itinerary of things that will be included. At least in a general sense, we're going to go into this area, that area. And I can tell you from being on tour with Mike a couple of times now, that what you see and those you meet will make an incredible impression and lifelong difference for you. You're not going to go see meaningless things as a waste of your time. Israel is no different than any other place in the earth, America in particular, where you can find tourist traps. It's just a place for somebody to sell you a trinket and take your money.
Mm-hmm.
And tourism is an industry for Israel. That being said, there are people who go in and they're expecting this. At times, the angel choirs are going to be following them, and they're going to hear harps from heaven riding on the bus. That everybody on the tour is going to be just like them and agree with them and have the same background and opinions that they do. That everybody's going to walk at the same pace that you do. The expectation that all of the commodities and appointments in Israel are just like what you have at home.
Yeah.
So you want
to go to the first
one of those?
Yeah, let's go to the first one. Okay. So you're a sports guy. Is it reasonable to believe that your favorite pitcher is going to pitch a no-hitter every time?
No.
Is it fair to believe that your favorite batter is going to bat a home run every time?
No.
Is it fair to believe that Bryson DeChambeau is going to hit the fairway every time? Sorry, Bryson. Is it fair to believe that on every par three that someone's going to get a hole in one?
No, it just doesn't happen.
So why is it that people come into a congregation believing that the teacher is going to every week pitch a no hitter, hit a home run, and make a hole in one on every hole? That's not realistic expectations.
Isn't that his job or her job?
Yeah, very. I don't know about, I know House of David's different because they have you as the teacher, but I can do, I can pray through the week as I do about my message on Shabbat. I can spend my time thinking about the message all week, and sometimes, Barry, I just walk in and it's flat. Not every time when Daniel hits the first chord on the guitar does the room light up with the presence of the Almighty. Sometimes we're just there, and you go through the service, and it's like, okay, well, we'll see you next week. Is it possible the Almighty holds back His presence from us at times to see if we're just coming for our junkie fix?
Mm.
That we're no better than the homeless drug addict on the street corner? That we're coming into Shabbat just so we can get our little shot on the arm, our little our little line of inhaling our little line of Holy Spirit Coke? Is that the purpose of our service? Because if it is, then we've made our service about us instead of about Him, which I believe, according to one of the first commandments, is idolatry.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Israel, going anywhere, going to Walmart, expecting everything that I buy today is on sale because I got up this morning and prayed and read my scripture. So today, everything that I purchase is going to be on sale. I'm going to walk into the gas station. The guy's going to go, "Oh no, you're not paying for the gas today." That everything's just going to go smooth because we're something special. No, we're still going to have to deal with life the same as everybody else because our testimony comes through our tests. That's part of the word.
I had a pastor once that, and he was very much old school. And he had a saying that someone quoted him as saying, I have so much work to do today, it's going to take 3 hours of prayer to get it all done. So prayer is preparation for the day, for the week, for the upcoming events, not all of which are going to be positive. Sometimes you encounter negative situations and you're happy that you had spent some time in prayer beforehand. It certainly enabled you and prepared you for whatever it is that you're going to be dealing with.
Barry, let me just break in here if you don't mind. Is it possible that pastor put upon other people expectations that are not realistic?
Not in that sense. I mean, that was his approach.
I mean, yeah, I know what his approach is, but in my early days back in the 80s of learning how to follow him, I listened to people that were saying that, you need to, I was reading books. I can't remember his name. The guy
Bounds.
E.M. Bounds, George Mueller, various ones that were talking about hours and hours, Smith Wigglesworth, okay. And somewhere along the way, some of that was some of those expectations that of their life kind of became my expectations, and I had to work it out myself.
Mm-hmm.
When we allow other people's expectations to be overlaid upon our life, we're being set up for failure, because what is expected of one person, what is a calling of one person, is not a calling for someone else.
I'll give you a case in point. Some number of years ago, I was taking some leadership training while pastoring a particular church in Southwest Virginia. And I needed some help there. But I was taking this leadership training and leadership development course with other pastors. And we were discussing, someone had discussed about a particular issue among their local church leadership that needed to be handled. And they had called a meeting, and they had been praying and fasting throughout the week in preparation for that meeting because it really needed to be handled a certain way. Another pastor described a like situation, again, a problem among the leadership. He called them and he said, I breathed a prayer as I opened the door to go in. One pastor's approach is long-term fasting and praying. The other pastor is, I'm breathing a prayer as I go in.
Fly by the seat of your pants.
Now, is one more holy than the other? No, not necessarily. The one who breathed the prayer may have been suggesting, I walk in a continual state of focus on him, listening for him, communing with him, and I don't need to spend multiple hours in long, fervent, concentrated prayer to hear what I need to say and to deliver it. He also may be drawing on years of experience. I've been here before. I know how to fight this battle because he's trained my hands to war and my fingers to fight.
Yeah.
So again, it's personality, it's experience, it's how you walk, and your calling. All of those things formulate in your mind reasonable expectations and help you to weed out those unrealistic ones to where let's face it, when we deal with unrealized expectations, more often than not, the frustration comes because they were selfish in their origins. For example, a young man marries a beautiful young lady, and without realizing it, in his mind, she's always going to be his Barbie doll trophy wife, hanging on his arm, heaping adulations on him, and just a constant support system for him. That's a young, idealistic, and actually an immature mindset going into a marriage. Because the role for this young man is not that his wife will be a trophy wife, but now he has taken on another person for which he is to provide for, love, cherish, honor, protect, and do all that he can to see her develop into the most fascinating, encouraged, whole person that she can be. The goal of each spouse is the other spouse being at their best, supporting them, getting them through whatever, because life is not fairy tale. Bills will be in front of you that you don't know how you're going to pay. Physical things will come up. Relational things among the in-laws, it's going to come up. You got the other young couples, well, just wait until you've been married as long as we have, and you'll find out that the honeymoon don't last. No, the honeymoon doesn't last forever. After every wedding, there's a marriage. Marriage,
Yep.
marriage is something special. The same level of expectations then in a congregational setting, it's not going to be idealistic. It's not going to be all about people fawning over you and trying to meet every one of your spiritual needs. At some point, it's about you edifying somebody else, finding your role to serve. Finally, and we're running out of time here, I wanted to touch on this. I remember going to Israel for the first time, and the beds were different. It's not one single mattress across the top. It's two mattresses, and you push them together because the laws of Nidah and so forth. It's available to be dealt with. I remember standing in a tub taking a shower, and the tub went down, and then it had a flat spot in the bottom, but the flat spot was not big enough for my feet to be side by side. I had to stand one foot in front of the other.
The Shel Hashimron.
And I can say that's a problem, or I can say that's a unique way to do it.
Yep.
The food is great, but it's not American cuisine. It's more Mediterranean cuisine. You go to breakfast on Shabbat. The coffee is not hot as if it had been just brewed, because they don't brew it on Shabbat morning.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make some allowances because it's a different culture. Not everybody's going to greet you in English. Sometimes you're going to have to use hand gestures if you don't know the language. But it's an amazing, life-changing trip nonetheless. Measure your expectations.
Well, I would close it out by saying this. In life, seek his expectations, not yours.
That's likely to be selfish that way, huh?
We'll see.
Right. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Ready
for Revive?
Yeah, we ask your prayers for, that the ministry that Mike is offering to the youth will be impacting, life-changing, helpful, encouraging, edifying. If you're not going, pray that the event will be a success.
Yeah.
We need more than just good teaching and good singing. We need bodybuilding.
They need an encounter.
Yeah.
They need an encounter.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Till then.
We'll see you again next week, folks. Till then, shalom.